He started his career as a stand-up comic, and he has since written sitcoms, acted in movies, hosted television shows. This weekend, he's going back to his roots, and for the first time in 20 years is making a special engagement return comedy routine right here in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tom Arnold.
I love my coat like you.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great, Tom.
Nice to see you.
So glad to have you here.
Well, it's good to be here.
I know where your hometown is.
Yes, you do.
Ottumwa, Iowa, and I can even pronounce it. How about that?
That very few people can.
Great state, as far as I'm concerned. People are a lot like Arkansas.
Yeah.
When you grew up there, did you think you were one day going to be on this stage and do television and movies and all this stuff? I mean, growing up in Iowa is a lot like growing up in Arkansas.
Yeah.
That world is so far away from you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have dreams, and you do the things in school and things like that. But no, out of high school, I worked at Hormel, the meat packing plant, for 3 years. My grandpa had worked there 50 years, so that was the best job in town. And actually, there was another great job. My dad ran a place that made industrial knives, and I wanted to work there, and Dad said no. And I said, why? He said, because I know I'd have to fire you. He said, but if Louis Dudica will hire you at Hormel, I'll hire his kid to work out there at Lund's. And so
I got the better end of that deal.
Yeah, Louis Dudica's kid still had his job. And anyway, so but I dreamed of it, you know, and I thought if I get on TV, then people would like me. But it turns out that's not necessarily true. But
if you think that's bad, run for office, Tom.
Yeah, well, it's
you want to make people mad.
I'm very good friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, and wow. I don't know. I mean, you go from being the biggest star in the world and everybody loving you to right now kind of everybody upset with you. But it's like, you know, in California, we have to believe it's like a movie with 3 acts, and at the end of the second act, something terrible happens, like hypothetical, your state goes bankrupt. And then he's going to turn it around the next 14 months, and then we'll make another movie together.
Well, I hope he can do it soon, because it's a tough time. I want to talk about you probably were, what, a cut-up as a kid? Were you
I think that you know, I didn't fit into any group. I grew up, my mom left when I was 4, and was raised by my dad. You know, a 22-year-old guy with a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old is, you know, it's very unusual. Yeah. He's a great guy, and of course he wasn't able to date, and eventually 10 years later he had to marry the next door neighbor, because you know you don't go very far, and so I didn't fit into. I was a little athletic, I was a little whatever, but one time in class I wrote something on the chalkboard, inappropriate diarrhea. I couldn't spell. I still can't spell it, but people laughed, and I got paddled. But I liked it. You know, I liked the attention. I thought, well, maybe people would like me then. And so that's what I think that began. I said, can you spell diarrhea? It's hard. There's like H's in it and stuff. It's a crazy word. You know, you got to be a doctor to do it.
You've been a great funny guy all your life, except there was a real painful period of your life that you had to address. I want to talk about that time, because I think there are a lot of people out there that may have experienced something like it, and they don't know where to turn. But you've gotten through it. You had a tough situation when you were, what, 4 years old?
Well, when I was, I'll just say this, when I was 30, I got sober, and I'd been trying for a few years, and I was a very bad drug addict, cocaine and alcohol, you know, alcoholic. And finally, in December 10th, 1989, I got sober, and God willing, I'll make it through today, and it'll be 20 years in December. And then, but when you get sober, you kind of start sorting things out. And you do an inventory of your drinking and your drug use and your sexual history. And I remember saying to my therapist, well, you know, between the times I was age of 4 and 7, I had this babysitter. He's a couple years older. He's a kid, and we played this game, and you know, and I said, well, I don't know, maybe that's something that boys do. I don't know, kids do, you know, whatever. And he's like, wait a minute. You had a babysitter that was like 6 or 7, and you were, and I was like, yeah, that's weird. He goes, I want you to look up, research the guy, and see how old he was. And he was 19. And I started thinking about the game, and it wasn't so much of a game, and he was a man. And at the end of the game, he gave me a candy bar. My dad never liked for me to eat candy because I was hyper, believe it or not. So I never told my dad about it. Plus, you're a kid, you don't know what sex is. And you know what pain is, but you don't know. And so I worked on it, and I 6 months with my therapist, so I didn't go and strangle the guy. I found him. They moved
but
to
he had molested you as a child.
Yes, yes. Myself, and when I went back to Center Avenue in Ottumwa, Iowa, I found out he molested a lot of the kids. And at that time, kids, for a man to say that, even as a boy, that another man had sexually abused you, a lot of people are afraid that there's a kind of a homosexual connotation to that, when it's absolutely not true. Most pedophiles are not homosexuals, and plus you're a kid, you know, and so a lot of guys would talk about it, but I found a bunch that would, and when I realized it was a thing throughout that this guy had molested so many people, he's probably still doing it. I did research. He'd adopted 4 boys. He was married. He was a church leader. He ran a big business, and I knew I had to go confront him. And I went, you know, flew into Des Moines and went to where he works, and we had our...
You confronted this guy.
Yeah.
You just walked in and said, you're the guy.
Well, I walked into the front of his office and said, the receptionist is like, oh my gosh, well, I go, I'm here to see so-and-so. Yeah. I go, I'll call him. Oh my gosh, you're here, you know, David said. And I said, don't call him, I want to surprise him. And I hadn't seen him for a long time. Mm. And he just happened, I started walking down this hall, he just happened to come out of his office, and as soon as I saw him, I swear I could smell the room he took me into. I could feel, I mean, it just scared
all that stuff
me.
Coming back
all
up.
It came back, the whole game that we played, and how it was much more violent than I, you know. And he comes right up to me, and I said, I'm here to give you back the pain and shame you caused me as a child. If you tried to do that to me now, I'd break your neck. And but he came up and jammed his finger in my chest, and he said, your memories are wrong. And that's something that somebody that's been confronted says, because that's sort of textbook. And for a second, I felt I mean, I was scared. And then I remember, wait, I'm 6'2", I'm a man now. No. So I grabbed his hand, and I bent backward and said, I would break your neck. And I could see the fear in his eyes for the first time. And then I left there. I ran out of there feeling, by now his employees all came out and heard this. And I felt like, you know, this weight off my shoulders. I went right over to the state capitol of Terry Branstad's office, our Republican governor at the time, very nice guy. I said, this guy's going to adopt another boy. You got to stop it. And he said, like, Tom, I can't. That's illegal. The statute of limitations is up. I'd gone to the sheriff. I'd gone to, you know. I said, but if they molest one boy, they molest 250. He goes, I can't do anything about it. It's illegal. I said, please. And he said, Tom, get on your plane and go back to California right now. We never had this conversation. And I was disappointed, but I did. I got back 2 days later. My brother Chris called me and said, you know, there was a paperwork snafu with the adoption, and he wasn't able to adopt the kid.
Thank God.
And so I don't know what happened, but I'm very grateful to. And so I thought, have I done everything? What about the other kids in his new neighborhood? So I had my farmhands at 3 in the morning every Friday night for a month put up posters, kid high, of the guy, his address, his crimes, his face.
Wow. 6
blocks around his house.
Wow.
To let every one of them know. And so, you know, that's and I feel like I've dealt with it. And this last year I did a movie, Gardens of the Night, where I played a guy.
You played the pedophile.
I played him.
And I want to talk about that.
Okay.
We've got to take a break. When we come back, more with Tom Arnold and this powerful, amazing story. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.